Hi there, Phil here. Decided to create a series of videos about my latest restoration project, motorcycle restoration project. So I have my current flock of Suzukis. Here is my 2011 GS750 FA, which is my current road bike for commuting and touring. And then, as you can see, I like my big Suzukis. This is my 1984 1100 Katana that I've owned since new, and restored that a number of years ago to reasonably original condition, including respraying the petrol tank with candy apple, which I think turned out pretty well. Anyway, my latest project, something I found on bike sales here in Australia, and it is a 1977 Suzuki GS750, which just happened to be my first large bike that I bought way back in the early 80s as I upgraded from my air-cooled RD350. So I found this on bike sales. It's a US import into Australia, so it does have miles per hour speedo and doesn't have a Australian compliance plate, but that can be supplied through an engineer certificate after restoration. So it's in reasonably original condition. Tank obviously needs a bit of work as it's not original colour. Has the nice spoked wheels, quite good tyres, and as I say, mostly original. Original rear shocks. I do have the airbox, which is actually missing now, but that's over in a case somewhere. And the speedo reads 34,000 miles. So originally I thought maybe that might be 134, but looking at the things like the foot peg rubbers, gear shift rubbers, and even the kickstart rubbers, I'm thinking that this probably actually is an original 34,000 miles. As you can see, the rear tyre is quite good condition as well, although it could be as hard as nails. We'll see when we eventually get to ride the thing. And spoked wheels front and back. So the plan is to do a restoration back to as close as possible to original as possible, with the aid of spare parts secured over the internet and mostly using what's already there. So what do I see as the major problems? Obviously it has a 4-into-1 exhaust system which wasn't original, so hopefully I can source an aftermarket repro of that. The tank needed a bit of work, but I'll discuss that a bit later. The seat, a little bit of a rip, but I've already sourced a recovering for that. The chain guard is not original, that's off another bike, as you can see by this bracket that somebody's made there, but I have managed to source one of those off eBay from Canada, and that's on its way to me now. One of the main problems is that the compression in the motor. So cylinders 1 and 4 have no compression at all. Cylinder 3 has good compression. Cylinder 2 has probably half of what it should have. So that means that the head is going to have to come off and clean the valves, which I presume that's why it's no compression. The valves are stuck open. But I've done that sort of thing before, so it doesn't really pose too many issues. But as you can see, it's in pretty original condition. So this is going to be a long-term project over the next 12, 18, 24 months, and hopefully we can follow this through these series of videos. So the first main issue I came across was the petrol tank. From the outside didn't look too bad, but the inside was pretty horrible. Somebody had tried to seal it based on some rust that was obviously in there at some point, and then the previous owner tried to seal it again, both doing fairly bad jobs. So there was bits flaking off inside and rust and pretty horrible inside. So I did a bit of research on how to clear that out, and eventually decided that using acrylic lacquer thinners inside to dissolve the existing coating would work best. So I spent probably a week with a couple of litres of thinners and screws and a bit of chain inside, shaking it around to try and free up all that gunk that was in there, and then eventually rinsed all that out and filled it full of vinegar, white vinegar, and left it for a week. That did a reasonable job of clearing out all the gunk inside. I then bought a tank sealing kit. Actually, it's over here. And the plan was to use that to seal up the inside of the tank. So that includes a degreaser, then it includes a like an undercoat sealer, and then the actual sealant itself. So I went through those processes, and the sealant that they give you comes in a 250ml can, and supposedly that's enough to coat the inside of the tank. But what I found was that due to the shape of the tank, trying to get it to seal all around the inside of the tank didn't seem to work. So after slushing that around inside for some time, I could tell that there were a few sections that weren't sealed, and so I then ordered another 2 lots of 250ml sealant, and then put the 500ml inside the tank, rolled that around for some time, and then I think that's done a really good job of sealing up the inside of the tank. So I'm not sure you can see inside there, but it actually looks quite good. So I'm happy with the inside of the tank. There was also a couple of dings in the side of the tank. So there was one here and one on the other side. Not big dings, but I wanted to get them out before I did the sealing. So I ended up buying a stud welder and using that to pull out the dents as much as possible, so that they can be filled during the respray process. So I'm happy with the inside of the tank. So the next step will be to do the stripping of the tank and the spraying of the tank, and also the tail piece as well.